to the Vitals Podcast. I'm your host, Chauncey, back yet again to digest and bring you the latest in medical news today. It's Monday, June 3rd, 2024, and today we don't have any studies to dig through, but instead, an update on last week's H5N1 infections and some background info on the virus. As always, don't forget to follow the podcast and share it with your friends to keep everyone you know in the loop. Last week, we talked about a human case in Michigan and one in Texas. As of June 1st, we have another human case in Michigan. This time, they do exhibit more typical symptoms of an upper respiratory infection, like cough and sore throat, etc., while the other two cases had conjunctivitis or pink eye. Keep in mind, however, the 3 human cases so far are not related. That means the virus did not transmit from one human to another, spreading it. Being a dairy farm worker, just like the other two, this is another instance of cow-to-human spread transmission. A week ago, a child in Victoria, Australia, was also confirmed to be infected. This is Australia's first H5N1 case. The CDC still believes that the H5N1 virus has a low threat of infecting humans because of the only infections being cattle-to-human, rather than the virus being human-to-human transmissible. With that being said, however, the CDC still recommends that people around potentially infected animals, that being cattle, poultry, and apparently alpacas, should wear recommended personal protective equipment, or PPE, and monitor their health for 10 days after their most recent exposure. We should avoid close, long, or unprotected exposures to sick or dead animals, including wild birds, poultry, other domesticated birds, and other animals, including cows. People should also avoid unprotected exposures to animal poop, bedding, litter, and unpasteurized or raw milk, or materials that have been touched by or close to birds or other animals that are suspected to have the virus. Let's take a step back for a moment. If you remember the swine flu pandemic that started in Mexico in 2009, you'll notice that the name H5N1 sounds a lot like H1N1, the virus that caused swine flu. That doesn't particularly mean that this is the next worldwide plague. Let me explain. Influenza A viruses, or the seasonal flu viruses that we generally get shots for, have a name that has an H followed by a number, then an N followed by a number. For example, the H1N1 virus. These refer to the type of hemagglutinin and neuraminidase that each virus has. The hemagglutinin, the H, has 18 types that we know of, so H1 through H18, and serves as the lockpick the virus has. The neuraminidase, the N, has 11 types that we know of, so N1 through N11, and it's kind of like the sledgehammer of the virus. What I mean by lockpick and hammer is how the virus interacts with a host cell, like a cow, bird, pig, or human cell. The H protein on a flu virus binds to a protein on our cells called sialic acid, letting the whole thing in. When the virus does its thing, producing itself, using its genetic payload to hijack the cell and make millions and millions more of itself, it uses the N protein, remember neuraminidase, to let itself out, killing the cell. The differences in these proteins and the combinations they make, of which there are potentially almost 200, create the differences in infectiousness and lethality. Flu viruses also mutate their other genes a lot, making them near impossible to fully eradicate with vaccines like humans did for smallpox. Another fact to consider, the flu is something that can create millions and millions and millions of copies of itself in a short amount of time. It mutates very often, and mutations that make the virus bad at infecting others don't get to replicate as often as mutations that are extremely infectious. This means the flu is really good at mutating to become as infectious as possible. Case in point, the deadliest pandemic in world history is credited to the Spanish flu in 1918 after World War I. It was caused by the H1N1 virus and killed 3% of the world's population. That's about 50 million people. A similar virus killed around 500,000 people in 2009. That's the swine flu we were talking about. In 1957, the Asian flu, or the H2N2 virus, killed up to 2 million people worldwide. In 1968, the Hong Kong flu, or the H3N2 virus, killed up to 4 million people worldwide. In 2013, the H5N1 virus hopped from birds to humans and killed almost 700 people in a small outbreak in China. Now we get vaccinated every year for the H5N1 and the H3N2 viruses, as well as some other influenza B viruses to prevent outbreaks like these again. As for the H5N1 virus, our current cow to human bird flu, wow, that's a mouthful, we knew about this virus in birds for a while now. Tens of millions of birds have died from bird flu, and hundreds of millions more have been slaughtered to slow the spread. Humans aren't new to it either. In 2021, a UK citizen who raised birds was infected. In 2022, a worker in Colorado involved with culling birds was infected. Now we have multiple cases of the virus, but largely from another infected species to humans. To put it briefly, the H5N1 virus can infect humans by contact with contaminated substances, like raw milk, but hasn't shown concerning transmissibility between humans. Usually in this section of the video or the episode, whichever, we usually do a vitals section where I dive deep into the burning questions you have. Well, today we don't have any questions. So instead, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. I have some questions generated by ChatGPT to go over. And there's no script. It's just me talking. So let's see some of these questions. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from? Well, your host, Chauncey, the host of the Vitals podcast. I'm from Pennsylvania. I am a high school student. I love medicine. I love basketball. I love writing. Yeah. What inspired you to pursue a career in the medical field? Love this question. So, my mom, firstly, is a ER worker, so there's that. But I am the sick kid. I get sick all the time. I get sick from my mom bringing, well, actually, no, she doesn't really bring home stuff because she has the strongest immune system in the house. It's usually my sister. She brings home stuff all the time. When I was younger, I got sick a lot. I've had strep throat. I've had pink eye. I've had a scratched cornea, even though it's not a disease. I've had whooping cough. I had the flu, the cold. I've had COVID. Luckily, I haven't had RSV. I haven't had any like super bad infection. I had to get hospitalized. Thank the Lord. But I'd like to say I have a strong immune system after all of that. So there's that. What are some of your hobbies or interests outside of medicine? Well, like I said, I love sports. I am on my high school basketball team. I'm on the varsity team. I'm the captain. I like writing. I'm a gamer. I love listening to music. I love talking to my friends. Just discussing stuff. So. Where did you study? I'm still a high school student. I have no college. What is your major focus during? Again, I am a high school student. However, though, I take a special course called a PLTW Biomed course. Project Lead the Way. It is made to prepare students for their career in medicine. So there's that. Let's see. What inspired you to start this podcast? Well, it's a funny story about this. So I tutor, by the way. I wanted to start it. I wanted to have some passive income. So I set up an account on Tutor Peers, and they wanted to put a video up there, like a introductory video. And I wanted it to be the most high quality, coolest, outstanding video of all time. So I bought a mic. And then when it came, I set it up, I put it on my desk, I recorded a video, then I looked at it, and it just popped in my idea. What if I just start a podcast? Because for example, 2019, I saw the article for the COVID-19, that little outbreak in China. I thought, okay, that's that, I guess. And I didn't think anything of it. 2020 comes, all in March, all these lockdowns. We go home from school early, we never come back, this, that, and other. And it kind of blindsided me. And I don't want that to happen again. For example, the H5N1 outbreak. I learned about this through this podcast, researching for it. It happened upon one of my feeds, and I was like, I gotta do an episode on this. And also, I want to learn more about this. So, the podcast is kind of me wanting to be that source for other people where they can get the latest. When I say latest medical news, I mean like the recent stuff, so they're in the know. For example, Never thought it would ever be a vaccine for cancer. I never thought you could measure hydrogen in cells to detect cancer. Never thought that you can use a cell that our body already has to create a regeneration therapy. This is stuff that the normal person doesn't always learn about. And me wanting to be that person, that source for other people, but secondly, I also want to learn about this stuff. Through the podcast, I get to know this stuff, which is really cool because this is what I want to learn about. That's where I want to be. I want to be a medical professional. So there's that. I want to be a pathologist. How do you choose the topics for each episode? Okay, so first I have feedly.com. I have LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, and I look at I have this. Let's see. First of all, it's a branch of the NIH for cancer research. I know that. I forgot the official name. It slips my mind at the moment. Let's see. It'll pop up on my feed. There it is. National Cancer Institute, NCI. Yeah. I get all types of posts from them. I get all types of feeds from that. So there's that. There's Feedly. There's the NIH website. There's Googling, just Googling medicine news, medicine innovation news, something like that. And hopefully something pops up. It'll catch my eye and I'll do an episode on it. So yeah, that's how I choose my topics. Can you walk us through your process of researching and preparing for an episode? Okay, so firstly, like I said, I find a source, find something I like, find something that catches my eye. Wow, that's cool. Someone got to hear about this. I want people to hear about this. So then I'll just pick it apart, make sure it's actually something I know I can explain. Because, for example, if it's like neuroscience that's just like way, way, way above my head, I'm not going to be able to explain it well to y'all. So I'm not going to do that because I don't want to misinform. So that will be scrapped. But if it's something I can understand or I can digest enough to put it in layman's terms for an audience, I'll pick through it. I'll put some stuff on a script. Then what I'll do is usually I find an article, just a regular news article. It's not a study. So I have to either they make it easy for me and they put it at the top or the bottom and they link it. I could just click the link and it'll go right to the Nature study or the NIH study or whatever it may be. Or I have to search a couple keywords or a couple names on Google or Bing and it'll pop right up. And then once I have that study, I can cross-reference that study to other articles and then you'll have a slew of information I could just go off of to put in a script. Then once I have the script, the whole script done, I'll start recording on riverside.fm, hashtag not sponsored. Then, because what I like Riverside especially because what it does is it'll kind of automatically cut out the background noise, that being like an AC unit or the clicks or my chair creaking or just me like moving my hands around or whatever it may be. And then I export that to Soundtrap and then cut up the audio, mix it with some nice ambient music. Then I export that back to Riverside, which will transcript it for me and throw it on a video. Like it'll put closed captions on a video with my banner in the background. Then I can export that video and throw it onto Spotify for podcasters or YouTube, and it'll distribute that to all the all the podcast platforms out there. So that's my process for creating episodes. What has been the most challenging? I'm not a doctor. I've not had a medical case. How do you stay updated with the latest medical research and developments? Again, Feedly. And the thing with these sources is that I want to pick something. I have to make sure I pick something that really is momentous. That's the easiest way to put it, because there are a lot of groundbreaking news out there. There is a lot of news that's just, okay, wow, that's really cool. But will someone fall asleep listening to this? Maybe. Can I make this a good story? I don't know. For example, flavonoids reduce type 2 diabetes risk. Study identifies food with maximum benefits. Okay. I don't know if I could put this in the episode, but it's cool that I get to know. And yeah, that's like how I stay updated. I have feeds. Looking at her, what are your goals for this podcast? I want it to become a big thing. I want to have more listeners to get my reach to as many people as possible. I want it to be a display of how interested in medicine I am. This is kind of what I want to do, like just being in the medical field. This is a stepping stone to a dream I'm trying to chase. So hopefully this podcast, people like it. Hopefully you share with your friends, and we make it something more. Really. How can listeners get involved or suggest topics for future episodes? Awesome question. So, firstly, either jump it down. We already know, jump it down in the Q&A section of Spotify, and you might see it in a future episode. But also, I am working on a Discord server where hopefully, if we have enough people, we can suggest some topics, some articles, and I'll look through them and I'll see if I like them, and I'll see if I can put it in an episode. I can make it a story that's interesting for people to listen. And yeah, that's a way that we can suggest topics. That'll also be a place I could put articles for, like the one I just read, of stuff that I can't really make into a substancy word. That's a word for sure. Substancy story to put in an episode, but it'll still be interesting for people to read through. If you weren't in the medical field, what other career do you think you pursue? Basketball, for sure. Being a sports athlete, for sure. That is the thing that when I was young, 5, 6, 7, people ask you, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I want to be LeBron James. Yeah, for sure. Definitely basketball. I love sports. Do you have a favorite book or movie related to medicine or health? Well, I have both. First, I have Immune. The Immune book by Philip Detmer, the creator of Kurzgesagt. I love Kurzgesagt. Jeez. Yeah, Immune, A Journey into the Mysterious System That Keeps You Alive. That's the book official title. I bought this, I want to say like 2 years ago, and never turned back because I love the immune system. That is so interesting. There's so much that is it blew my mind when I first learned about the immune system when I was way. I was a young lad. My mom came home from work. She was like, "Hey," I was like, "Hey, how do people get sick?" Because like, okay, I'm living, and then suddenly I wake up and my throat is sore, and I'm coughing, I'm sneezing, and my nose is leaking, and this and that. And mom was like, "Well," because she comes home from the ER. She's like, "Yeah, these small little things called germs." Because I'm 9, I don't know what bacteria or viruses or pathogens are. I'm like, wow, small little thing. Because I can crush ants all day, but germs can make me sick. This is young me. And then from there, it just blast off. I just start watching a bunch of YouTube videos instead of Minecraft. I'm watching Kurzgesagt and SciShow and Osmosis. I'm watching all these just videos about the immune system and pathology and pathogens and whatnot. It's just like, wow. Because there's so much that goes into it. And there's so much that can be left to be discovered. It's mind blowing. So yeah, that's the book Immune. There's so much packed into this book. The illustrations are awesome. The information is always good because what they go into depth into things that they can't really go into depth in videos because of the time constraint. No one wants to watch a 2-hour video about the immune system. I might, but that's besides the point. So they put it in the book, and it's an awesome book. I love the book. Please, you should go read it. If you want to learn more about the immune system or just medicine in general, buy Immune, A Journey into the Mysterious System That Keeps You Alive by Philip Detmer, excuse me. As for a movie, the movie Contagion. I remember saw it with my dad. He had it on CD, and he just popped it in because I was still young and I was still like trying to figure out how to put it. I was trying to figure out what exactly about the immune system really interested me. Like, because it's cool to say, yeah, I want to be a doctor. I want to learn more about that. And they ask you, oh, why? And I'm like, I don't know. So he showed me the movie, and it's a really good movie. It's an old movie, but it's a good movie. It's a really good movie. I suggest you watch it if you want to go to the immune field or the medical field. But yeah, so there's that. Let's see. What's one interesting fact about you? That's one interesting fact about you that your listeners might be surprised to learn. Um, Firstly, I'm a big brother. Sister just walked in and out the room while I'm recording. Lovely. Secondly, I am a childcare worker at my church. I just sometimes either I'm volunteering or I'm out being paid to just watch over the children and guide them in the right directions. So that's something you probably didn't know about me. Even the people that I know personally listening to this might not know about me. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? My dad once told me this was during basketball season, but it really applies to anything in life. If you put in the effort, the work, the hours, whatever it is, whatever you want to be, whatever it is that you're trying to do, you put in all that you can to it. The rest will follow, whether that be fame, money, talent, success, whatever you call your goal, it will follow because that's how the world goes from. You put in the work, you put in the effort, you do everything in the background, even if even if you're not acknowledged for it, even if people might not see it or appreciate it as much as you would hope it is. The rest will follow. How do you balance your professional responsibilities with your personal life? I'm not a doctor, so I can't answer that question. Can you share a funny or memorable story from your time in the medical field? I went to a program called HMS Med Science, Harvard Medical Science, or Medical Science, Harvard Medical School. Yes, that Harvard. And it was a week-long summer program where you get to learn a bunch of skills that um, ER workers or EMTs learn in med school, that being like intubation, suturing, putting an IV, stopping the bleed, CPR. I'm CPR certified, by the way. Stuff like that. And there's also like their selling point. This really cool part is that they have not one but two like life-sized. I don't want to use the word animatronics, but it's kind of that, where it's in a bed. It's hooked up to a speaker and a microphone. So in another room, your instructor just gets to control absolutely everything about this. They control the vitals. They control, like, you can put your stethoscope to it. You can hear their breathing. You can hear their heartbeat. And the instructor in the other room gets to control that. You see the EKG. You see their O2. You see their breaths per minute, you see their temperature, you see everything, and all of that's controlled by the instructor. You can have conversations with the instructor through the animatronic because the instructor pretends to be the patient. And we had like about 4 or 5 or 6 of these cases during the week. And I remember the last case. This is really what blew me away because up to this point, I thought AI was just kind of like how do I put this? Like a cheapskate and out to like actually like put in the studying. I thought it was just an answer generator, which I didn't really like because it's not how I roll. I think on my feet. So, but then they had a computer person come in, and they were like they gave their presentation about how AI can more enhance the treatment that professionals give to patients instead of trying to replace professionals. And they exemplified this. They did another case study where they sent the instructor had a whole slew of symptoms that were associated with seizures. But the twist was we had one of our team members, we had one of the students on the computer, and anytime we got a symptom or a sign or some type of piece of information, some chunk of information from the patient, they just plugged that into ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT would spit out all these diagnoses. And the more you plug in, the more it narrowed it down, or it was more confident in a specific diagnosis. And I remember it was some crazy diagnosis that I've never heard of, and that was really unrecognizable. And it was like, wow, that's the power of AI, really. As a health professional, I don't know if I would have ever, even with the training from med school and whatnot, I don't know if I would have ever had come up with some diagnosis like that. But yeah, and for part of the case study was that their previous medical provider, their previous doctor, whatever you want to call it, they had given them a misdiagnosis, and they diagnosed them for seizures, which didn't help. The seizure medication didn't really help. So that's a memorable story from my time in the quote medical field, but I would like to call it my medical journey. That's what I call it, because I'm not in the medical field yet. Yeah. So that's the end of the questions from ChatGPT. So if you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to drop it down below. Don't refrain to ask me in the Q&A section of Spotify. I would be happy to answer any questions y'all have for me. So that's it from me. Until next time, keep your vitals strong and your spirits high. This is your host, Chauncey, signing off. Take care. Stay healthy. I'll see y'all next week.